Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Today's editorial from the Indian Express on 14th of May, we are going to discuss justice deferred. Now here we have a topic which talks about how Supreme Court has decided upon the 4G connections in Jammu and Kashmir. So let's look at the passage. Justice deferred. Supreme Court throwing J&K ball back to committee of those whose decisions are being questioned is disappointing. So here the author is kind of giving us an insight into what the article is about. This editorial is from the Indian Express and it's today's. The passage begins like this. The Supreme Court order on Monday declining pleas for restoration of 4G internet services in Jammu and Kashmir is disturbing for several reasons. So his introduction is telling us that by declining the pleas for restoration of 4G internet service in Jammu and Kashmir, how and what those reasons are is being listed down. The continued denial of such services in the lockdown constitutes a special injustice to a people deprived of fundamental freedoms since the centre's August 5th, 2019 decision to abrogate Article 370. The present 2G service is not enough for children to access online classes or for patients to consult doctors or for businesses dependent on online transactions. Now this is interesting. In journalism we always say give examples of three. So he's done that. The author has given us children's access to online classes, patients who are unable to consult doctors, and businesses that are dependent on online transactions for payments and such are unable to do so. So these are the several reasons that he's listed out. Let's look at the next paragraph. The author says, but the Supreme Court order is also troubling because it appears to be part of a broader pattern of delay and evasion and passing the buck in cases that touch upon fundamental rights and crucial policy issues in ways that amount effectively to giving the political executive the benefit of the doubt. Now here the author has used two, one is a phrase and actually both are phrases, passing the buck, benefit of the doubt, and so on. So we'll discuss that in a minute. Monday's order, for instance, does not just contain no questions asked references to national security and compelling circumstances of cross-border terrorism. It also cedes the court's own powers of judicial review to a special committee headed by the Union Home Secretary, which will examine the contentions of the petitioners as well as the appropriateness of the alternatives suggested by them. So, this one sentence is the core of the entire passage. Though the author has talked about Monday's order as an example of how the Supreme Court is actually giving up its own powers to the Union Home Secretary, right? So he is explaining this further in the next line. In other words, the apex court has held that another body consisting of secretaries of the very departments whose orders are in question should adjudicate on the validity of the restrictions on people's freedom imposed by them. Now here, for vocabulary's sake, I will be talking about the words used in this first passage, right? So we start with the first line, the Supreme Court order on Monday declining pleas for restoration. What is a plea? A plea is nothing but a request made in an urgent manner, and it's usually in a court of law. Okay. Next, let's look at the next word I've looked at is the continued denial of such services, that line, right? So what is denial? Denial is nothing but the action of denying something. That is, you're refusing something that's been requested or that's been desired. Now let's look at the two phrases interestingly used in this passage. Passing the buck. Passing the buck is a phrase, right? It's the shift of responsibility for something to someone else. You're just saying that I'm not responsible for this, and you're shifting the blame or shifting that responsibility to someone else. So that's where the phrase passing the buck comes from. And the next one is benefit of the doubt. This is an idiom. It's been around for a long time. It just basically means that to trust someone or in something, even though it's not really very clear if your trust in that person is justified. Basically, you decide that you'll believe someone, even though you're not very sure about what that person is saying or doing is actually true. The next word is cede. In the sentence they've used it. I'm underlying it for you. Right. It also cedes the court's own powers of judicial review. What does cede mean? To cede is to give up your power, to surrender. Right. That's what the court is doing here. And the final word for this passage, or this paragraph rather, is adjudicate. Right, the last sentence has it. In other words, the apex court and then should adjudicate on the validity of the restrictions on people's freedom imposed by them. Adjudicate just means to make a formal judgment on a disputed matter. Basically, they are acting like a judge. They're pronouncing or declaring something judicially. There is no doubt that in J&K, imperatives of national security need to be factored in. A delicate balance must be struck. But the process of doing so must be both judicious and judicial. Very interestingly, the author has used both judicious and judicial in the same sentence. All right. More generally, while executive assessments are a crucial input, they cannot be the only or unquestioningly the last word in cases that involve constitutional principle and law. By throwing the ball on internet access back to a government-led committee, and by its delay in taking up cases of habeas corpus in Kashmir, the court has given the executive a free pass instead of acting as a check and balance on executive power. Now here we have some few words which I'll discuss in a minute. Okay, let's complete this paragraph. The apex court is the custodian of fundamental liberties and fiercely independent upholder of the letter and spirit of the Constitution. That it should be seen to display a lack of urgency on important cases where the executive needs to do the explaining is disappointing and dispiriting. There ends the passage. From this particular paragraph, I would say the words highlighted are imperatives. Now, imperative in the context of how the word is used, it's basically something essential or crucial that's of vital importance, right? So he says there is no doubt that in J&K, imperatives of national security need to be factored in. So it's very important or very vital that you factor in national security when you're taking decisions related to Jammu and Kashmir. Judicious. Judicious is having or showing or doing something with good judgment. Basically, you're showing some good sense when you're doing something, right? You're being sensible, prudent. These are all meanings for judicious. So when he says judicial, what does he mean? He's talking about something that pertains to a law of court, relating to the administration of justice per se, right? So in that particular sentence, when he says the process of doing so must be both judicious and judicial, right? You need to be both sensible, you have to show good judgment. At the same time, it has to be according to the law of the court, right? Let's look at the next word, habeas corpus. It literally, it means produce the body, right? It's a writ, which is a writ means a written command. So it's a writ that requires a person to be brought before a judge or into a court, right? So that's habeas corpus. And the author is talking about free pass. Now, when he says the court has given the executive a free pass, what he means is free pass generally is safe passage. Basically, he's let him off the hook, instead of acting as check and balance on executive power. Check and balance, again, a very common phrase used. So check and balance is basically a system that allows one branch of government to amend or to veto acts of another branch of government. This is basically done so that no one particular branch exerts too much power, right? You don't want power to be concentrated in the hands of few individuals or certain groups within the government. So you need to have checks and balances in place. Now here the court is expected to act as checks and balances on the executive power, which they haven't done. Instead, they've given them a free pass, according to the author in this article. Two more words. Custodian. The apex court is the custodian of fundamental liberties and fiercely independent upholder of the letter and spirit of the Constitution. So when you say custodian, vocabulary in context, someone who has responsibility for taking care of something like the Constitution or protecting the Constitution, more importantly, right? And finally, we have one word, dispiriting. Now here, dispiriting simply means causing someone to lose enthusiasm and hope. The editorial from the Hindu for today's paper, 14th of May, we're looking at liquidity lifeline. So the author gives us a snapshot in the first line after the heading. He says the finance minister did well to try and break the confidence logjam in the credit market. So that gives us a snapshot of what this passage is going to be. So let's read. From an overall perspective, the first tranche of announcements made by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan on Wednesday is impressive indeed. There are and will be many issues in the details, but taken as a whole, the measures announced will go a long way in lifting the spirits of the two key and troubled sectors of MSMEs and non-banking finance companies. So remember, this is the first tranche where they are addressing two sectors, the MSMEs and the non-banking finance companies. We are also hoping that they come up with more announcements for other core sectors like agriculture or labor and so on, right? So this is the first tranche. The word tranche, I'll explain it in a few minutes. Let's continue. While for the former, here the former refers to MSMEs, existential crisis. And for the latter, so that's the non-banking finance companies, that's the MBFC, it is of liquidity. The massive 3 lakh crore collateral free assistance handed out to MSMEs will help them crank up their operations. Ms. Sitharaman has done well in extending a sovereign credit guarantee for the complete amount, as banks may otherwise have been reluctant to support troubled borrowers. I hope the statement is clear to you. Simply saying that because of the sovereign credit guarantee, that is the government-backed guarantee on the credit, the banks will now be more supportive towards their borrowers, especially from the MSMEs. The government could have specified the interest cap on these loans without leaving it to individual lenders, as each of them has its own REIT structure. Again, this I'll explain this later about what he's referring to when he says interest cap on loans. Okay, let's just continue reading. But from this particular paragraph of the passage, I would say these are the words. So maybe I'll just quickly go through the words for you. Logjam. So remember the confidence logjam. Logjam here refers to a situation that seems irresolvable. Basically, a problem that's impossible to solve, right? And it seemed that way. The confidence logjam in the credit market seemed that way. So that's why he's using the word logjam. Tranche. Now, tranche refers to a portion of something, especially when it comes to money. The next word, liquidity. Liquidity refers to assets, liquid assets. And liquid assets are cash. Okay. So the availability of liquid assets to a company or in the market is what is being referred to when they say liquidity. Collateral free is basically when a borrower goes to a lender and he needs a certain amount of loan, he needs to offer or pledge his asset. The asset can be gold, land, anything. He has to borrow against it. Now here the government is saying that we'll give collateral free. So that means you don't have to pledge your asset. Crank up is the next word. Crank up refers to making it more intense or increasing something. All right. And then we'll look at the sovereign credit guarantee. Now here, this is basically a promise by the government to discharge any liability that the borrower has in case he doesn't pay up his loan or he defaults on the loan, right? And the credit guarantee is for the banker, right? They're guaranteeing the banker that you give credit to this customer, and if he defaults, the government will step in and pay for him. So that's how it's framed, sovereign credit guarantee. Next we have interest cap. Yes, interest cap is basically you're capping the rates. You're limiting the borrower's risk, okay, by capping the interest rate. Now here the author is saying that the government could have specified the interest rate on these loans without leaving it to individual lenders, right? So individual lenders, if you leave it to them, then they're going to structure their own interest rates, and therefore the author was saying the government could have specified a cap on the interest on these loans. The next paragraph of the same editorial, he says, again, the scheme could have been extended until the end of this financial year instead of until October 31st. So in the previous paragraph, he had one suggestion about capping of interest rates. Here he comes up with the second suggestion of how you could have extended the scheme until end of financial year, that would be March of 2021 instead of October 31st this year, 2020. Then the author goes on to say India is now entering the monsoon season when activity is traditionally dull, so it's not clear how many borrowers will get the benefit. The 20,000 crore partially guaranteed subordinated debt program and the 50,000 crore fund of funds scheme will help boost the equity portion on MSME finances, but again the finer details need to be clear. So in today's article they've given us some of the numbers, but the details are yet to come from the government. NBFCs, housing finance firms and microfinance entities get a much required liquidity boost in the form of 30,000 crore scheme, wherein their debt paper will be fully guaranteed by the government. With this and the partial credit guarantee scheme of 45,000 crore, the government has broken the logjam wherein banks were unwilling to extend credit despite the RBI's strong push. So, if you remember 2 months ago, RBI had indeed given a very big push for the banks to give out loans, but it didn't really work out. So, here the author is saying that this will probably kickstart that. This should largely attenuate the liquidity crisis in the non-banking space for now. The minister has also done well in addressing the liquidity issues of power distribution companies through a 90,000 crore infusion that would be securitized on their receivables and backed by a state government guarantee. So this has been a point of contention for a long time because the power distribution companies are undergoing a serious liquidity crunch. All right. And so here the government is saying, so the author is lauding the government's effort. The next line says, Wednesday's announcements are focused on the liquidity part of the crisis. While the headline numbers appear big, the reality is that the government will be called upon to bear the liability only if the economic situation becomes hopeless. And then he says it may not come to that. So the way the sentence is structured, the author is supporting the government and at the same time saying that this is just a precautionary measure and basically the government will be called upon to bear the liability only if the economic situation becomes hopeless, and then he is ending that sentence by saying it may not come to that. Now we are coming to the conclusion of this passage. He says, what the announcements do is to break the confidence logjam in the credit market. Remember, when he gave us the gist of the passage, he made the same sentence there. So then he says the same thing and then says, and give the assurance to lenders and borrowers that government is willing to backstop their commitments. This is the signal that MSMEs and their lenders needed, as liquidity was always there, but only for the most credit-worthy of borrowers. Here, the government has played its role to perfection. There ends the passage. Now, a few words from this paragraph. Subordinated debt program. Basically, it's a type of debt that receives very low priority in terms of when a company goes bankrupt and when you have to claim. This kind of debt receives lowest priority, right? So it's an unsecured loan or a bond. Okay, and most other loans that are secured or guaranteed, they get paid up first when a company goes bankrupt. So that's what it means, subordinated debt program. Attenuate is to reduce the force or the effect or value of. So when we looked at that sentence, you will understand vocabulary in context is very important. The next word is crisis. Crisis is simply a time of intense difficulty.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.